What's going on, guys? My name is Venatix. Welcome back to the channel. I finally had time to finish the ultimate melee weapon guide. Pretty much this is going to go talk about all the melee weapons and which ones I like, which ones go best with which classes, maybe some certain maps or strategies, etc. But I want this to be an open discussion because I'm not the best World War Z player, obviously, but I do like to do some guides and stuff like this, and I like to take information from the community on stuff like this. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. What we're going to talk about here is we're going to start out with the light melee weapons first, which just so happens to be the dual knives. Now, dual knives have two good perks to it. You got the surgical precision, which is signature strikes made with this weapon deal 100% more damage, and the gun kata, firearm damage increases by 25% for 3 seconds after killing an enemy with this weapon. Now, the thing about the light melee weapons is that they're fast, they do have more stamina, the push cone is kind of small, but I can't seem to get the perk a lot unless I'm playing as the slasher. Now, it's fast and it's good for reload cancels and animations like that. However, talking about the dual knife is where things can get kind of iffy in my opinion, because as you see here, it takes about 3 swings to kill one zombie just to get the gun kata perk. Now we do have a melee stamina of 7, so in reality we should be able to kill 2 zombies before being fatigued. That's not necessarily a bad thing by any means. However, it's so situational unless you're playing as a slasher class. The only thing that also bothers me the most is that the gun kata, which gives you that increased firearm damage whenever you kill an enemy with the knife, there makes no sound. There's no sound, there's no visual effect, nothing knowing that it's actually working. That's what I think about the dual knives. Personally, I think they're fun, cool idea, but they're supposed to make you stronger with your gun. But if you're playing as a slasher, which I would suggest when using as a light, you'd probably want to use the sickles or the cleavers, which is why we will now talk about the actual sickles. Now, the dual sickles are very similar to the dual knives in the fact that if you haven't noticed by now, the light melee weapons have the exact same stats, damage, speed, melee stamina, push cone, targets are the exact same. For the dual sickles, however, they're perk-wise. We have Blood Harvest, which is signature strikes made with this weapon can damage 1 additional target within range. So keep that in mind. It's while it's within range. If you're not within range, it's not adding 1 or anything like that. And then you have Reaper. Now this is where I think a lot of people really do enjoy this class because it kind of gives you this lifesteal. Killing 5 zombies in rapid succession with this weapon restores 5% of max health. Now I find this perk to be kind of finicky. I feel like I hardly am. I feel like I can never actually get that to really go here. I mean, in this entire clip in the background, I think I was able to pull it off like 1 time. I feel like it's very niche, very finessey to actually pull this off if you're not playing as a slasher. Now, if you're playing as a slasher, well then your melee stamina is greatly increased. It's going to be a lot easier because you're one-hitting all the zombies. That makes complete sense in my head, right? It's going to be much, much stronger. But when you're playing as a non-slasher class, which majority of this build, the guide that I'm putting out here in this video, is for non-slasher players, because pretty much as a slasher, you can play with any of the melee weapons and it's going to be pretty strong, in my opinion. Regardless, dual sickles are fun. I do feel like they're very, very situational unless you're playing as a slasher. I mean, I feel like if I needed to, I'd rather use the cleavers almost. Then again, if you do it right, you can get, that health back. You just gotta choose your right moments, which points me to the next one, which is the dual cleavers. Now, I really like the dual cleavers because of their perks. Obviously, go figure. That's what it's all about, is the perks. That's what makes these melee weapons so much better than they used to before, especially the new ones. We have Severance, signature strikes made with this weapon deal 100% more damage and can hit an additional target within range. And then Butcher, killing 5 zombies in rapid succession with this weapon fully restores your melee stamina. Again, pretty darn similar stats. Actually, they're always going to be similar stats as I said before, but what I mean perk-wise is signature strike is going to do more damage and it's going to hit 1 more additional target within range. So in theory, if you pull off a signature strike, that means you're most likely going to be getting your Butcher perk again, which means you're going to have your full melee stamina bar up again. And you can just melee over and over and over. Now remember though, this is still considered a light melee weapon, which means the push cone and stuff like that and the targets is very, very small. You're really only damaging 1 at a time, except for when you do your signature strike. So you got to keep that in mind. Again, playing as a slasher, you're going to be hitting harder. You're going to be getting the Butcher over and over much more frequently. And when you're using your stun gun, it's going to be a very easy, good time for you overall. Personally, as it comes to light weapons, I think all 3 of them are completely viable, especially as playing the slasher. But if I was to choose one in that category, I'd say go with the cleavers, or if you find yourself needing extra HP, or not extra HP, but needing HP all the time, then maybe you should go with the sickles. As with knives, I don't know. I feel like it's Nah, just go play the gunslinger if you feel like you need more damage, you know? I don't think you need to, yeah. Anyways, let's talk about the medium. So up first is the machete. No one should be using this versus any of the other melee weapons. It's the worst melee weapon possible. There are no perks for it whatsoever. It's the base, plain Jane, standard, medium melee weapon. Don't use it. Now, on to the next one. Wakizashi, which is not a katana, by the way, but I always call it a katana because I don't actually know anything about swords. And just like I showed you guys in one of my earlier videos, this wakizashi actually has some really good perks, 3 perks for that matter, and I think that's because it is considered an extreme unlockable weapon, because you have to be at least 1 mission on extreme, which makes it kind of like a little bit stronger, more bonusy, etc. Let's talk about its perks. Razor sharp. Signature strikes made with this weapon can damage 2 additional targets within range. Pretty strong. Noble Death. Deal a melee strike to each enemy within 2 meters of you when you are incapacitated or die. This damage is increased by 100%. So guaranteed you're killing every single zombie around you except for maybe like a bull or a infector, because, you know, they're a little bit more tankier. But if you were to run into a horde, or if you were surrounded by a horde, you're killing every single normal zombie around you as soon as you get incapacitated or down, etc. Just boom, you kill them all. Really cool in my opinion, especially if you're playing, as I said before in my other video, the fixture class, because you'll be able to stand back up as long as your other teammates are already dead. Otherwise, you're just going to have a teammate res you, and you can just kind of go in and suicide at like a horde, or when you're defending against a wall, and they're climbing it, etc. Something for you guys to definitely try out if you haven't already. Make sure to watch that video. Now the last perk is Shinobi. Sprinting won't wake sleeping zombies for seconds after a melee kill made with this weapon. It's pretty meh in my opinion. It's kind of niche. There's some levels that may benefit it, but if you're playing with teammates, friends, etc., you're most likely not. It's not going to matter. You're going to be killing the zombies in front of you anyways instead of sprinting past them. Now remember, it specifically says sprinting. So that means if you stop sprinting and even walk for 1 step, you're going to wake the zombies up. I've experienced that. It kind of sucks. I wish it would just be sprinting and walking personally, but you know, whatever. It is what it is. So as it goes for a wakizashi, I do feel like as it goes in the medium tier, it's going to be up there in the top 3. However, I still have some more that's going to take the top spot in the limelight, and let's talk about the next one, which is going to be the Lobo shovel. The shovel was something that originally you had to get for like pre-orders, I think it was, back in the day, and now of course it's available for everybody who has this. And it only has 1 perk, which is there's a 5% chance that an enemy killed with a signature strike will drop an equipment bag. And I think 5% is a very low chance just for you to get an equipment bag, when most likely every single class that you're playing as is going to have the opportunity to get an equipment bag by either killing 15 zombies pretty quickly or getting 5 headshots in a row, etc., etc. You catch my drift. I just don't think this weapon is very strong in my opinion. Cool, it's cool overall, but in my opinion, just don't even bother using it. Now, let's talk about one of my very, very favorites. It's called the tomahawk. And this one is great. So signature strikes made with this weapon deal 100% more damage. You become temporarily invulnerable while performing a signature strike, which is great. So you're medium and you're becoming invulnerable every time you do your signature strike, which is typically on average seems to be like what, every 3 melees or every 4 melees, you're going to get the signature strike back up, which is cool. But then you also have this perk here, which is the best in my opinion. It's called Duck and Weave. Killing 5 zombies with this weapon without taking damage grants a small amount of temporary health. Remember, most, if not all, the rest of the weapons, the melee weapons, requires you to kill 5 zombies in rapid succession. Now that's tough to do if you're not playing as a slasher, which is where this one I love so much, because it's just killing 5 zombies without taking any damage. And that could be throughout the entire level. Let's say you kill 1 zombie at the beginning, and then the middle, and then the end, and then the end, and the end. You could get that temporary health boost, because it doesn't have to be in rapid succession, which is great, because it's difficult to kill if you're not the slasher. Which is why myself personally think this is one of the better picks, as well as what I've seen a lot of people actually talk about on my channel in the comment section. Everyone's like, oh yeah, the tomahawk, I use the tomahawk. I use the tomahawk the most myself, but those other melee videos I made earlier were actually really good combos that you definitely should try out, because I don't think tomahawk is the go-to for everybody, or I don't think tomahawk is far superior that you should always pick it and nothing else. I do think there are situations where you will want to pick other weapons, and we'll go into that, but the tomahawk in general though is definitely great. The temporary health just makes you tankier, makes you stay alive longer, and it's really easy to pull off, because in theory you're not wanting to take damage ever, and all you have to do is kill 5 zombies with it without taking damage. Pretty easy to do in my opinion, especially when the signature strike does more damage, so you're going to kill them with it and you become invulnerable, which means you're not going to take any damage during that process. Honestly, up there in my top 3 for every single one, whether it's light, medium, or heavy, up there in my top 3. Next, we have the hammer, which I think a lot of people don't appreciate this as much as I do, especially with that video I showed you guys the other day. Let's talk about its perks. Hammer time. Signature strikes made with this weapon deal 50% less damage, but pushes back surrounding enemies and won't increase your melee combat fatigue. So this is where I think it's really strong, in my opinion. Like, actually really strong. The reason being is you can do this twice. You can do your signature strike twice without being fatigued because of that increase in melee combat fatigue. Awesome. The pushback radius is huge. Yeah, you may not be killing them exactly with your melee weapon, but you're going to be using this more as a crowd controller, pushing them back so far so that you swing and then you're going to shoot them in the head, etc., or throw a grenade or whatever your equipment is. And then it does have a nice other perk. It's called Combat Engineer. Killing 5 zombies with this weapon in rapid succession restores 10% durability of the closest defense, but it doesn't count for machine guns, mortars, and automatic turrets. However, voltage grids and barricades, like barbed wire, etc., will work. So if you're standing next to a voltage grid where the zombies are running up to them and getting stuck, you can actually sit there and melee those zombies because they're already taking damage. So you should be able to kill them very quickly, which then increases the durability of that voltage grid. So in theory, you're going to have a voltage grid forever as long as you're not getting overwhelmed, you know, and have to shoot with your gun instead of using the melee weapon. So imagine that on a slasher class sitting next to a voltage grid, you have a voltage grid for the entire swarm. Pretty awesome. Definitely should try it, guys. Really sweet, in my opinion. Next, we have the Fire Axe Medium, which isn't that great, in my opinion. It gives you a 3% chance that an enemy killed with a signature strike will drop a medkit. So it's not killing 5 zombies in rapid succession. It's not, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's only when you do a signature strike, and only when you kill them, it has a 3% chance. I feel like 3% is pretty weak. I feel like it could have been like 10% or something to make this a little more viable. I have used this and have yet to ever get an actual medkit that dropped from it. That being said, some people have told me that they have been getting some more often. So maybe it isn't 3%, or maybe they just have really good luck. I don't know. Personally, I say don't even bother using it. That's just my opinion. I wouldn't use it. I would skip and do something completely different. So that's it for the mediums. Let's talk about the heavies now. So the heavies seem to outclass mediums unless the perks are good. For example, like the wakizashi, tomahawk, and the hammer. Because the heavies are basically have the same amount of stamina and stuff like that as well, but they have more damage, a bigger push cone, and can hit more targets. So that's where I think this excels the most. I feel like really, if you're not playing as a slasher class, you should just be using a heavy or one of those select few mediums that we've been talking about. And let's do the heavy fire axe first here. Heavy fire axe has 2 perks. Untouchable. You become temporarily invulnerable while performing a signature strike with this weapon. It can hit 1 additional target within range. So very similar to the tomahawk in that regards. And then fire axe. Striking a burning enemy with this weapon fully restores melee stamina. Just like the video I put out the other day. Plays as exterminator class, who also gets the increased melee stamina when he has some of the red perks there. You have to prestige it to find out what I'm talking about, if you didn't know. And then throw your Molotov onto the ground, stand on top of your Molotov or slightly behind it, so when the zombies come running up into the fire to come get you, they're on fire, and then you just reset your mana stamina over and over and over, and you never run out. It's super strong. And I like this one a lot, like actually a lot. And the reason behind that is because when you actually pull the perk off, it makes an audible sound, and it's very obvious that you're getting that perk and it's being used. So, honestly, really good. Now we have the baseball bat. I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with the baseball bat. I think it's really only good if you're playing as a slasher class, seeing that you're not going to be able to one-hit everything with the baseball bat. It's going to give you 10% sprint stamina, so if you're playing as a slasher, you can sprint, turn around, hit a zombie, sprint, turn around, hit a zombie. You can just pretty much sprint forever. But when you're not playing as a slasher, it's just not that great, in my opinion. You're not getting that perk up as much as you would like. I feel like you're able to run away with enough stamina as it is. If you're not managing your stamina enough, I think that's just user error, and you need to probably get a little bit better at that. Now, of course, there are going to be times when we run out of stamina. That happens. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like if you're doing it just for that perk, I don't know. You're either playing solo or you just need to be using a different weapon. That's what I think about that one. And last but not least, we have the sledgehammer. Now, I actually really do like the sledgehammer. I like it for its look. I like it for its sounds. I like it for its signature strike. I think it's great, but I do think one of its perks is completely useless, or at least just really weird and very, very, very situational that you would never use it. Let's talk about them. So the first one is Devastation. Signature strikes deal 100% more damage and push enemies back further. So it kind of reminds me of the hammer signature strike to be able to do this, which is harder to pull off because you have less stamina and the speed is a lot slower. So if you find that you like to use the sledgehammer but it isn't quite as good or it's too slow, try using the hammer. It's very, very similar. Now let's talk about the last perk, Cleansing. Killing a special zombie with this weapon provides immunity from all negative status effects related to special zombies for 3 seconds. See, to me, is that good against a gas bag? Like, I don't understand personally. Is it like good against an infector? Like you're about to get infected or spat on, but instead you're invulnerable, you're immune to it? Like, I don't know. Maybe someone can explain it to me in the comments better. Like I said, this is more of kind of like a guide, but not necessarily the, you can only do this and this is only the best. I want to know what you guys think, so please let me know. I hope you appreciate the time I spent on this, recording every single one, using all the different melee weapons to let you guys know what it is. Personally, again, Sledgehammer, just try using the actual hammer in the medium class and see if you like that one better. You may not necessarily be killing them with the hammer, but you'll have the pushback just like the sledgehammer. Now the sledgehammer is going to make you feel more strong, but should you use it as a slasher class? I don't know. I will say though, before we wrap things up, the second best class when it comes to using a melee is the exterminator class. That's prestiged because of the perks. You get the increased melee stamina. Really, that's about it. That makes it better than the rest. However, there are other perks that could outclass it, outshine it, but it also has the increased push radius on the exterminator as one of the perks. So it definitely has some strong perks to make it strong, which I just said twice, LOL. And I just said LOL out loud. Wow, this is getting ridiculous. I needed to end the video. Well, you know what it is. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.